100%?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, just what was that process like to get to this point to be ready for the start of the camp?
Well, it was a grind, but I think it was more of like one of those things where you can look at it optimistically or pessimistically, and you can look at it as, man, woe was me, why did this happen to me, and like, oh my God, why do I have to go through this? Or you can look at it as, man, I needed another great challenge, and I needed another mountain to climb, and I look forward to climbing that mountain, and so that's the way I treated it every day. Was another step, another growth. You know, obviously there's always setbacks, both mentally and physically and emotionally, but it's one of those things where you allow yourself to see what you're really made of when you go through things like this, and I appreciated that journey.
Were there any doubts along the way to be ready for camp?
No, not for me. You know, obviously, the outside world, you know, has their, you know, it's just make headlines, you know, one way or the other. You know, he's not going to be ready for these reasons. He's going to be ready for these reasons. But I never had any doubt. You know, my body was recovering and healing at the rate they wanted it to heal. And working with our strength and conditioning coach, Ray Wright, getting those workouts in was incredibly beneficial, and doing the conditioning tests and things like that kind of helped me get my wind back.
Having to transition the strength staff that you were working with at a time of such a critical injury, did that prove challenging, or did being near Stanford kind of help too with that?
Well, it didn't prove challenging because I wasn't in that phase of my rehab yet. So once, you know, the Seahawks released me and I moved to the facility, I wasn't running, and I wasn't lifting and you know, doing lower body workouts, so it wasn't as difficult to transition. But once I did get to working, Ray and those guys were, you know, Ray and Shane and Mike and Austin, those guys were all incredibly, Marquise, they were essential in everything I did. You know, he kind of took his time with me, but he kind of threw me to the fire as well.
What are you going to do with your $2 million?
That's a great question. Throw it in a bank account, invest in something, probably some fund that pays me a decent percent. We got a willing candidate over there. Donation.
You said earlier that you and spoken a little bit, because you're more cerebral guys, you know, kind of whole game. What did you talk about between OTAs and now or during OTAs?
We talk about a lot. You know, we talk about the strengths and weaknesses of certain defenses, passes that he likes, people that he likes to take on dates. No, but we just talk ball. You know, it's one of those deals where we just talk ball and got to know each other better. You know, got to know, you know, his family. He has a ton of brothers, so you know, anytime you're a guy who grows up with brothers, then you know how to deal with men and boys, and you know, it's a locker room. So we had some great conversations, and I think it's going to be a fun year.
A lot of young guys, and you're now in the position of being the old guy and teaching.
Yeah, see, why you got to put it like that? You got the veteran.
The veteran,
There we go.
the grizzled veteran.
Grizzle.
Well, you got a little. How have you taken to that role of kind of helping these kids along?
I just do what I've always done. You know, I try to be the best teammate I can be, and try to help guys as much as I can. You know, there's no secrets around me. So if I know something, I'll try my best to convey that point or that understanding, that knowledge to them. If I recognize a formation, I recognize a tendency, I recognize a tendency in a quarterback or offense or receiver, then they'll have that same information. And in terms of work ethic and technique, things I do after practice, things I do to keep my body in shape, things I do to maintain, I'll give them those same, I guess, indicators.
Tagged along.
You know, Akello has been great. You know, Akello has been right along for the ride. You know, he's incredibly receptive he's a bright young man. He's incredibly bright and very coachable. If you tell him something once, he's gonna grasp it and be able to master it, or he's gonna do everything he can to master it within the next couple of days. So it's been great to work with him.
When you and Pierre were on different teams, there was one point in time where you guys had choice words for each other, or at least you had choice words for him. Have you guys spoken, and how much are you looking forward to competing against him in training camp?
We speak all the time. You know, we worked out. You know, he was here too with Jimmy and Ray and all that. And you know, it's football, and he understands that. I understand that. It's football. It's competitors. We'll go at it every day, and it'll still be the same. It's football. You go out there, you put your best foot forward, you try to win every rep, and once it's all said and done, you slap hands and you walk off and deal with the rest of life. But I'm sure it'll be fun.
Do you like to test your offensive teammates in a similar way as you mentally as you would an opponent during the season in training camp?
Iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another. So I'll do what I have to do to prepare them as well as prepare myself.
What kind of homework did you do during your Achilles rehab process to see what other athletes may have gone through? And
Well, I talked to a ton. I talked to, I mean, as soon as it happened, I talked to Kobe. I talked to him probably the next day. He and I had a previous relationship and talked and text all the time, so he gave me some pointers, things I needed to do early on in the process to make sure that I expedited the healing process, and I was more proactive than reactive. I think that was one of the big things. You know, you sit there and just let your foot sit in the cast and atrophy, let your muscles atrophy, then you're going to have a longer road to recovery. And there were some techniques that he gave me that really helped.
I remember Kobe was the guy that you mentioned that you thought about when you were on the field, when you got up and you really wanted to walk off. What have you learned about yourself through this whole journey, about your inner strength, and what are you looking forward to the most to being able to prove about?
Yeah, I saw a side of myself that I never knew I had, and it was one of those things where you don't know you have to be as strong as you have to be until you have to be that strong, and I was able to learn. You know, I had more time with my kids, so that helped as well. You know, my kids are young. They're 2 and 3 now, so I just getting to build a relationship with them, and then them seeing me every day, just working at it. And my son says, "Daddy, you look so fast," or you know, my daughter rubbing my leg or giving me ice and things like that. It was just a great time for everything to happen. You know, it's one of those things where it felt like it needed to happen, and it allowed me to, at this point in my career, to kind of take another step and find another level. It was a challenge, and you know, sometimes, I'm not saying people get complacent, but you get bored. You know, it's a routine. It's go out there, you play 16 games, you play at a high level, you do your best, you go against these guys, and you enjoy it. But sometimes, you know, throwing a wrench in there, wrenching the plans kind of helps you. You know, it wakens you up, it reignites a fire, it takes you back to where you need to be, and I think that's what I needed, and that's why I appreciate it.
With your role in the players' union and everything, we know there's conversations going on with the PA and the league regarding this anthem issue. Is there any update that you have received? And do you think there'll be any type of solution other than what the owners mandated in May?
We just talked about it. We just talked about it. We just had a conversation about it yesterday, and you know, they're open for discussion. There hasn't been a discussion about it. There have been, you know, we've started to get suggestions from players, and the league has been very open to hearing those suggestions, and they've been very amicable in our discussions about, you know, potentially making adjustments to that policy. I think some thought it was short-sighted, you know, but they felt like they had to get something out, and I think they should be commended for being open to hearing what the players have to say about it and moving in that way.
From yourself during training camp, and I'm sure there's still going to be a degree of patience you have to exhibit. Is that challenging for you?
No, because over the last couple of years, it's kind of been like that. You know, you got young guys who need to get reps. I go out there and I expect to dominate. I expect to play at a high level when I'm in there. I expect to make my stops, to play my technique, to be where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. But outside of that, I expect to be a great teammate, to encourage my young guys when I'm not practicing, to help them get better, to watch them grow in their technique and their abilities. I expect this team to come together and to play at a high level on offense and on defense. I think that's what matters. That's what training camp is for, to build a strong foundation of playing good football, and that's what we plan to do.
You're coming from a playoff environment. Does this feel like a playoff team to you, or is that getting ahead of the timetable a little bit?
Well, it's getting ahead of the timetable because we haven't gone into training camp. So, you know, to say this looks like a playoff team after 3 mini camp practices and some OTAs is reaching. You know what I mean? I'd be hard pressed to say we don't look like a playoff team, or we do. You know what I mean? I'd be lying. But after training camp, you know, going through, putting on pads, the rigorous, you know, day-to-day grind of of being able to have somebody see your best move over and over and then being able to counter that. To see guys go through the mental peaks and valleys of a training camp. And because some days you're on, we're human beings. Some days you're on, you got the energy, your body's feeling great, and some days you're not. And our guys able to overcome that and still play at a consistently high level. And that's what you'll find out throughout training camp. So I think we have the pieces to be a playoff team. We have the talent. We have the guys the experience. We got the receivers. We got the quarterback. We have the mind and Kyle. We got the defensive mind and Salah. But it's about pieces playing together. It's not robots. So it's not like, hey, on paper is how it's going to be out there. Guys have to go out there and put it on tape.
I was just talking about the importance for this team to kind of flush away the way it ended last season and all the expectations from the outside that go along with that. As someone who just arrived in March, you get the sense that this is a team that has already put away whatever success modicum of success they had at the end of last year.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's thinking about last year or what happened. It was a 6-10 team that didn't make the playoffs. So the few positives that were from last year, they're taking and appreciating them, but it's still a 6-10 team at the end of the day, and you're still picking in the top 10 in the draft. So it's not a lot to celebrate. So I think that's the way guys are approaching it. Guys are hungry, and they're excited to get out there and prove that this is a great team and that we can win ball games and consistently win ball games. I think going 5-0 at a time, that's going 5-0 into a playoff run and then doing damage is much different than going 5-0 after going 1-10. So I think guys understand that, and guys are focused on the right now and making sure that they make this team. You rest on your reputation, you're going to be resting at home this year.
Richard, you mentioned the time you spent with Jimmy during this offseason. What's it like going from tormenting San Francisco quarterbacks to now helping them out?
Well, I never played against him, so, I guess it's, to me, it doesn't make me much of a difference. I go out there to do my job. I don't think about, the logo that the guy's wearing on the other side. If you play against me at any point in time, I'm trying to torment you. I'm trying to do my job so effectively that you remember me. And that's, I think it's awesome to be on this side of it, I guess. I think that he's going to be a great quarterback once it's all said and done. I think he'll have his learning to do, and we'll have our learning to do defensively. But I think what I've seen from him so far is consistency in his reads and his analysis of defenses, and him hitting his back step and letting the ball go. Him not being flustered by pressure. I think he's a cool, decision maker, and we'll see how he goes with 16 games.
Have you gotten to know Ruben much at all? Could you maybe describe what those conversations have been like? And I know you've talked about a leadership role. Is he someone that you've sort of taken under your wing or discussed some of the issues that he?
Yeah, I've had many conversations with him. His locker's right next to mine, and I think he's going to have a great year. Obviously. There's been some mistakes and some up and downs of this offseason and last year. But just like everybody else, he's a human being, and human beings make mistakes. But I think he's growing from those mistakes, and he's moving forward, and he's trying to be a better man. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and, as you know better, you do better. And I think that's going to be seen with him. I don't think you're going to hear much out of him in terms of, the off-the-field issues in the future. I think everything you'll hear about him will be on the field and it'll be positive, and I think that I look forward to that.
Didn't sound like when the NFL announced the helmet lowering rule that you were a huge fan. Have you gotten more clarity on that, and has your stance changed as far as how that might work?
No, it hasn't changed, and we haven't gotten much clarity. You just hope it's not called as frequently, because they're going to call it on every single offensive and defensive lineman, and the game is going to move at a snail's pace if they call it that way. A lot of times they say they're, including former players when they make rules like this, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like they're neglecting the impact that it's going to have on the game, and I don't think they fully understand the scope and how huge it'll be. It may not, if they don't call it a lot, then if they call it in a monumental game where a running back's, just trying to fight for it's 3rd and 1, a running back dips his head into a linebacker for 1 yard, and you call it, you ruin the game. You ruin the game. Does it really make the game much safer? Guys running full speed and colliding. At the end of the day, it's not much you can do to make that safer. If you tell us take the helmets off and the pads and put flags on, then it'll be flag football and less people will watch it, but it'll be safe. But I think just like boxing and other sports, hockey, people get teeth knocked out in hockey. And it's not like people are like, man, hey, we need them to back off, stop punching guys in the face. They're not saying that because they're watching hockey, understanding that this is what happens in hockey. You come to play football and you come to watch a football game, you understand as a player and as a fan that there are certain risks involved in it. And I think the league is trying to supersede those risks. They're trying to overcompensate for public opinion of their sport because they're thinking, hey, these players, nobody's going to play our game. There's always going to be players to play this game. This is a game that kids love. This is a game that teaches you a lot of the lessons that you need as a human being, how to fight, how to combat adversity, how to be a teammate, how to be accountable, how to follow directions, how to do your job, how to not be too down when your team's down, how to pick somebody up, how to not get too down after you lose. And I think that them making this helmet rule and continuing to be overbearing in the game is make it more difficult to officiate, and I feel sorry for the officials.
I completely understand your stance, but you're right. The NFL is going to say, look, we have a concussion issue. We want to make the game safer. I mean, do you get any part of that, why not take steps to at least try?
Well, it's a difference between trying to make the game safer and then just kind of throwing darts at a wall. You know what I mean? This kind of seems like throwing darts at a wall. It's the running into players over the middle of the field, lowering your head in that way, helmet to helmet, that's understandable. But saying every time you lower your helmet, that's a flag. There are going to be times people lower their helmet to tackle with their shoulder because your head comes before your shoulder. If there's a way somebody can pull their head back and lead with their shoulder, I'm sure they would, but your body doesn't work that way. So it's going to be difficult for guys to tackle, even the correct way. I can tackle somebody by the book and still lead with my head. And so when you say that, it gets confusing. It gets confusing when a straight by the book, a rugby tackle, somebody's rugby tackling, rugby guys, their head will come first, they'll hit him with their shoulder, and the guy will go down. But is that leading with your head? Yes, technically. It's just how technical are you going to get?
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.